Everybody. Welcome to another episode of Life Talks. Today, I'm happy to have Cala, who is from Toronto, Ontario, and his Twitter handle is Greater Forever. His website is greaterforever.net, where he promotes sustainable fat loss, mindset, and leadership. And he has testimonials on his website of clients who've achieved their goals through his encouragement. Cala, thanks for joining me.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Going on, man? So I'm happy to have you, man, because I see a lot of the stuff that you're posting on Twitter. And maybe we could just dive right into it. I have a post here from you talking about parenting. And you say here, don't force them to do something, referring to children. Don't helicopter parent. Good parents don't have obedient children. Good parents have a healthy relationship with their children. Maybe if you could we can start there, maybe talking about, how many children do you have, a little bit, your history with that, and, what got you into, as you're promoting good parenting now, what got you into that path?
Sure, man. So I'm a father of two boys. Got a 3.5-year-old and a 5-day-old.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, I haven't spoken to you, man.
Yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but we're trudging along. And before my wife and I became parents, we knew that we very much wanted to be different parents than what we had growing up. Uh, I very much appreciate and love my parents, but they had the traditional authoritative style of parenting. Don't do what I do what I say. A lot of fear tactics, stare downs, yelling, threatening with the belt, um, that kind of thing. And I knew growing up, my dad always told me, one day you're going to be just like me. And I kind of, wanted to assure myself that I wouldn't. So my wife and I did some research, read a lot of books, and ones that really changed the game for us were by the same author, Daniel Siegel, um, The Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline. And one book, No Brain Child, or The Whole Brain Child, spoke about childhood development, and talking about how young children don't have a sense of logic or reason in the brain, and that they need to be spoken to very differently. They perceive things very differently than adults. And so that was, a game changer in terms of just um, being aware of that. And then No Drama Discipline really spoke about connection before correction, and taking all the traditional authoritative methods of parenting and throwing them in the garbage. And being the parent that connects with their child, being with them to resolve problems instead of sending them into their room alone, talking about emotional fortitude, things like that. And then we dove a little deeper in the online world, joined Facebook communities of peaceful parenting, gentle parenting, respectful parenting, whatever you want to call it. And, read a lot of posts of their struggles, read a lot of posts of their wins, and really started to put these into practice when our boy, Jacob, was born. And right off the bat, it's I felt the urges or the instincts of applying the authoritative methods of parenting. And I recognized very quickly that the reason that is because it works for the parent, but it's not what's best for the child. And when I say what works, meaning is the child stops the behavior. And the reason it's not what's best for the child is because it doesn't teach them anything. So if I were to yell at my kids and tell them to stop screaming or stop yelling, that of course is not only not teaching them anything, it's being, I'm showing them that I'm not practicing what I preach. So
Yeah.
I'm going to lose over time, I'm going to lose the trust from my kids. And very much what I want from my kids is to build a trusting, respectful relationship. And I do that by being aware and intentional with my behaviors and how I speak with them, how I connect with them, and how I behave as an individual as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that. I put out a video speaking on something similar. It's the realist authority, and maybe we can talk about it as this conversation goes on. But I've definitely grown a lot closer with my faith and what that really means, and internal. Kingdom of heaven is within. The reason I bring that up and how it relates to what you were just speaking of is I've been fascinated by this idea of integrous authority. In other words, there's people who have political power, and then there's organic power. And to me, I define organic power as when you're at peace within, you have the ability to communicate why you believe what you believe. And I would say to your children as well, this is why we do what we do. What do you think? And allow them to think, go within themselves and say, oh, this makes sense, and have real communication that way. Because when you have integrity within, you don't have to force anything because everything makes sense crystal clear. It just clicks. That's power versus forcing somebody to do something. And that can be applied to all types of relationships, I think. So I think it's a really good point that, you're not forcing things, but life throws its curveballs. And in those moments, it becomes very difficult, because we are emotional. And I think people make mistakes and all that. And I think what you said with your parents, I can relate to that as well, because and I'm at such a peaceful place that you bring that up, because it's like my parents screwed me up too, but they did the best they could with what they had, and they were just trying to
Yeah.
figure it out as well. And that's how I define, I think, the next gen. Like, we always hear, I want a better life for my kids, but I think the way we've articulated that is so very much wrong, in the sense it's like I want them to have more money or a better education, and those are good things, but a better life, more peace is more power, because then the other things are byproducts. You can go to school, but there's people who have lots of money, or they have all these titles, but they're not really fulfilled, and it just becomes another block, I think. But I think the ultimate way that you can um, lead to the next generation is to be at peace, that they have clarity, that they have fulfillment, that they're enlightened, that they're operating on power versus trying to compete with the world. That to me is the best generation moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit great points there. Whether you're 2 or 92, no one likes to be told what to do. And you keep doing that consistently with someone, you're going to start receiving some rebellious responses, some resentment. Um, and like you said, because I practice peaceful parenting with my children, it's totally like embodied my genuine character now. I now practice peaceful relationship with my wife, and by being more empathetic, um, with my colleagues, with my friends, um, because being consistent in my practice of parenting with my kid, I don't want to put on this show. I want to genuinely practice these behaviors so that they instill in my character and my identity. And it's definitely been a peaceful awakening,
Yeah.
um, by seeing, not only the responses from others, but just in general of how I perceive life uh, as a whole.
I got a question for you. How do you create boundaries without creating ultimatums? Because that's something I think that's interesting in my own life, because I think that, I'm sure you're familiar, we got the blue pill and the red pill right now. The blue pill is just like, I do believe that there are many men who are just naive. They'll be the nice guy, and I don't want to make boundaries because then I'm going to make other people upset. But then there's a lack of respect, because if there's no boundaries for a man, that it's you just be rolled all over on, and then you're not trusting yourself. So how do you balance the difference between creating boundaries and creating ultimatums where it becomes force and it's more power, your own inner power, and you want what's best for everybody, including yourself?
I think you answered your own question. It all comes down to self respect. Um, and once you apply self respect, then it kind of becomes clear of, um, what you want from others, what you want from yourself. So, I mean, that question deserves some context, but if we're talking about parenting, it really depends on the age of the child. Because again, if they're not old enough, they're not going to understand reason and logic. So to me, uh, um, enforcing boundaries or setting boundaries with your kids, it all comes down to being creative and stepping in their shoes,
Yeah,
speaking to them in a way that they understand. Maybe a tactical example would be if they want a toy in the toy store, instead of just saying no, we would say, yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. Let's make sure we put it down in your wish list for Easter or for birthday or for
nice.
Christmas. Acknowledge their desires, validate them because they are children, and um, not so much redirect, but just assure that their needs will be filled, but is maybe at a more appropriate time.
That's actually a really good example because I can notice that in my own life, those situations where those triggers will come up, or that, anger or lower vibrational like feelings, where just like, okay, accept that there's this reaction, and how can I dive into that? Create, that was a very good word. It's creative, right? How can I be creative where it's like, and also 100% the seeing through the lens of the other person, the capacity to really listen before you're understood, you know um and then how, I mean, at what point, how do you deal with, say, tantrums, right? Because I'm trying to see, because this is all new to me. I'm not a father, so, but I'm also trying to come at it from, say, a realistic standpoint, when life is punching you in the face and you have a kid giving tantrums, right? What are tools that you would implement to bring it back to being at peace, so you can operate, and in a loving manner with your children, when it doesn't feel that way, when it's all that craziness going on?
Yep. So again, because kids don't have the sense of logic and reason in the brain, tantrums are 100% absolutely normal behavior for a toddler. Um, and it all comes down to mindset. We've been conditioned to, expect the terrible twos. And we put this label of the terrible twos on for the parents, but we never consider, how terrible it must be for the child,
Yeah,
right? And so whenever I see my child having a tantrum or frustrated and reacting in a way that's severe, um, I can't let his behavior uh, be. I can't reflect my behavior because be from his. I can't. I sorry, I totally
yeah,
botched
no,
that.
I got
But
you.
anyway, but
Yeah,
so I put myself in his shoes. It must be really struggling for him. And if I were to see my wife or a friend or my mother having a really hard time, I wouldn't be like, stop crying. Or I wouldn't be like, grabbing them and try to stop the behavior. But for whatever reason, that's kind of accepted and almost encouraged with parenting today. I would, be like, are you okay? Do you need help? And so that's kind of where I go. So during a tantrum, I'll get down to my child's level, um, and sometimes he doesn't even want me near him. So I'll give him space and allow him to have the tantrum or go through whatever he needs in order to get through it. Then, when the dust settles, my wife and I have built this corner in his room. It's called a calming corner. And this calming corner is a safe spot for all of us to be in. And it's on the walls, it has pictures of emotions, of kids, like kids' faces. It has books about emotions. Um, there's games that we can play to help teach how to respond to certain emotions. Define what's good, what's bad, what's hurtful, what's caring, so that over time he is learning more of how to respond to frustration, to stress. And as he grows in age and he sees how we respond to frustration and stress by not reacting to his reactions, you know, he's going to learn some emotional regulation a lot sooner than majority of adults either neglected to ever learn
yeah,
or learn later in life.
yeah. I mean, think about how many people are, older infants, because of the way their environment, our environment. I mean, there's so many reasons we can go into, it's just even Hollywood and all that have conditioned us to believe certain programs are the same, and parenting styles. Shifting a little bit more, but on the same topic is, I think about one of the things that I want to promote with my channel is understanding and really look at the divorce rate. I don't want the divorce rate to be at what it is, right? And I think one of the problems is communication, and communication and how it ties in with parenting. I think that it's so, my father taught me, and I think this is something that it's really, really important, is that you have to love yourself first, and then your wife comes second. And then that, as a byproduct of you having love for yourself, real genuine love, that's shared with your wife. And then as a byproduct of that, you will raise loving children, right? But if the children comes first, then the wife comes second, and then it becomes, to me, I see it as like a competition. I realized that in my life, as my parents were competing for my attention because my parents were divorced. And moving forward, that's something that I would like to fix. And the communication, of, well, mom said it's okay. No, there needs to be communication that you guys are on the same page. So it's not who's the, happen,
Mhm.
the parents are following principles. Do you agree with that? Is that, and what are some things that you do as far as communication tools, or, if you can dive into that as far as tools to strengthen a marriage and communication that can overflow to the children.
Dude, communication is so key. Absolutely. Be real with you. My wife and I hit a really challenging time during the pregnancy of our first kid. And there was a lot of neglect on my part. I thought my job was to make my wife happy. But as you put it, I needed to show my wife what happiness was by first putting myself in a high priority. And when I recognized that, um, giving myself, again, that self respect of having a high nourishing diet, making time for the gym, um, whatever it is, having time for myself, I come back and reveal a better me to my wife, and that's going to she's going to see a better me, so she's going to respond to a better husband. Um, but in terms of how we fixed or how we're fixing um, our relationship status, we definitely communicate. We definitely have couch time like every night. We're talking about how we parent. We're giving each other praise of what we noticed, what we recognized. We understand that if there is criticism, it's not from a place of hate; it's a place of love, because we know that we could be better, and we designate time. Now, this doesn't have to be for everyone, but we designate times every Sunday night to have family meeting where
That's
we
good.
share weekly goals, and we designate time when we want these things to be done, who's going to do them. So we're both on the same page. We have an understanding. We know each other's schedule. There's no surprises. Um, but communication is everything in a relationship, in a marriage, with your children. It doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the forefront.
Yeah, I think that's something I've been doing myself. I mean, we're both in this group together, working out, and these challenges have definitely helped me. But the key thing that I took away from that is what I've been doing is the systems, right? Creating those
Mm,
systems. That's a system. Sunday night, this is what we're going to do for the week. And what I've noticed too, specifically with the difference between a man and a woman, is the ability for a man to lead, right? Versus being domineering. This is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it. To me, it's the difference between dominant and domineering. A domineering man has the force. A dominant man it has that love where it's like, no, we're going to create structure. What that does is it takes away from the wife's response, her role. We play our natural roles naturally when a man is in his frame and he's creating order and structure from a loving place, that people don't have to worry, oh, what are we supposed to do Thursday? What do we have to do? No, we took care of this Sunday. So now when we go into the week, life is going to throw punches, man. We've all been punched in the face past 2 years, but now we have, at least in our home, we have a piece of heaven here. We have some structure here. We can't control what's out there, but in here, we know what we're doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We communicate with each other. I think the common corner is a great idea, right? This idea that we can't, and I think there are extreme ends on the culture, right, where it's like the safe places for everything, right? Like maybe we could talk about that. Where do you think, um how do we draw the line between everything's about feelings, right? Because I think we could also get lost in the feelings of everything. And I know I would say that applies more to children, right? Whereas the sense that a common corner is good for a child, I guess maybe that answers my own question just talking about it, right? The older generation never had a common corner, so now they need that when they're older. Maybe that's it. But
Oh man, it's so
but this
true.
obsession of feelings when we're older, because I think the push there has to be some pushback in a loving manner, where it's like, one of the things I'll pass to you after this is that the the one of the things I love about speaking with you and Redman and Anthony is the ability to basically call out our own bullshit, right, in a loving way, so that we can say, okay, feelings are there, respect the feelings, but what are you going to do about it? So that pushback, where it's like it's the push that accept and own the feelings are there, and what can you do about it? That's the empowering part, and I feel like that part is missing. Maybe if you could speak on that.
Um, I don't know.
I speak from my own experience. Maybe I'll speak my own experience, because I would, being raised in the culture where it's like, it was all about feelings, get in touch with the feminine, it's okay to have feelings. And I've lived my life in feelings. Most of many years I would waste in feelings. I
Okay,
wasn't acting, right? So I guess maybe the question could be to for parenting specifically, at what point does it become, okay, the feeling's there. What are you going to do about it now? Right. And the action aspect.
I got you. Okay, so yes, I was definitely that person that was led by my emotions or feelings, and that led me to continuously make excuses for not following my commitments. And so now, as a man, as a father, as a husband, I've recognized my responsibility is to be led by my commitments, my principles, and my values. And so I needed to personally needed to invest and devote time to define what my principles and values were, as a father, as a man, as an individual, as a businessman, as a husband, and just be aware and intentional with every decision that I make, that I'm aligning my choices with those commitments and not being led by my feelings. And yes, because a child is led by their feelings, and as a parent, it's my responsibility to be aware of that as well. I think that answers your
Yeah,
question.
no, it does 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
okay, changing gears here a little bit. I do want to get this out on the podcast because I thought, it's really powerful. And I know people who have had health conditions. Now, you had health conditions and you changed that through your diet, right? So maybe if you could share your story, because to me, that's powerful. You had these skin conditions and now it's like, bam, just reversed it from following specific diet. So maybe that can help other people. So if you could
Sure.
share that.
Yes, sir. So about 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I, I was always mindful with what I was eating. Um, I exercised when I could, um, but I wasn't like, I was never tracking anything or didn't like, I didn't know anything about nutrition. And I just thought, like, if I eat my fruits and veggies, like, we're good. But I I guess neglected my nutrition for too long, and all of a sudden one day started getting these rapid flares of rash all over my body. Um, I and it was like continuously, like for days, and they would get so severe that I was becoming unrecognizable. So I had eczema, fungus, rash, whatever you call it, all over my body, and had to make a change very quickly. So went to see some doctors. They kept giving me these topical solutions that would like make it less severe, but would never resolve the
Wasn't getting to
issue.
the root of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So um, went to see a biomedicine doctor. We took a live blood analysis, and we saw there was an abundance of yeast in my blood, food particles still in my blood after hours of being fasted. So he said there's something going on with the gut. Um, and so I knew that sugar feeds yeast. So I wanted to starve the yeast. So I cut out all sugar, all fruit, all starch, all candies, of course. Basically, my diet consisted of meat and green veggies.
And how did you feel when you cut those out? Like initially, what did you feel like? Like the first few days, were you feeling like your body's like, "Whoa, I need sugar, or I need that"? Like, what was the process of
Yeah,
that as you cut it out?
definitely having cravings and things like that. But at that point, like I just wanted the swelling to go down,
Yeah,
so I didn't care about the cravings. It's not
yeah,
like I was like, oh, I just need to have a banana or whatever it was. It was like I just want this to go away. So that in itself, um, I see it as like a blessing because it gave me a really good reason to adhere to my diet.
yeah.
And within the first 21 days, all my symptoms went away, but for whatever reason, I still had this rash on the back of my hands. So I stuck to the diet until the rash went away. But then, after a month or two, I was noticing those cravings were gone. I was noticing my energy levels were high. My body composition, I dropped tons of body fat. I was in the best physique of my life. And I thought, okay, this is the diet for me. It encouraged me to go back to the gym, saw good muscle definition. I was getting those newbie gains again. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is it for me. But then over time, I stuck to it for 6 months. I was becoming scrawny looking, almost sick like. And so I was like extremely lean, but I'm not like a big guy. So, I was extremely lean at 130 pounds.
Yeah.
I knew I had to make a change diet. But at this point in time, because I was in such a restrictive diet, I developed like this food phobia. I was scared of reintroducing carbs back in my diet. So I knew I had to hire a coach. We started carb cycling. I started learning more about nutrition and nutrient partitioning and high intensity resistance training and how that's linked to having including carbs around training and all that. I wanted to know more. I was starting to look better. I was starting to feel more energized in the gym, less fatigue, better sleep. So I just kept diving in deeper. I started my own Facebook group to keep myself accountable and kind of help others if they went through a similar path. Then fast forward to May 2020, I lose my job, and I'm still very much passionate about nutrition. So I said, screw it, I'm going to dive in head first. Became certified sports nutrition coach, and started taking on clients. Now, after 2 years, that's what I do full time, online coach. And during those during the short 2 years, I've quickly discovered that a lot of poor eating behaviors all stems from lack of emotional regulation, which all stems from lack of appropriate parenting and being connected with the child. So that's how this has all become connected.
Yeah.
So now I've decided in my coaching to include the root cause and I'm bringing Anthony on with parenting. I'm bringing some other coaches on with relationships so that I'm no longer focusing just on fat loss or nutrition. My job now is to help parents build strong, confident families by showing their children the benefits of prioritizing their health, including them in healthy habits, and be aware of their mindset so they gain some confidence growing up. And it's been working out very well. It's helped my relationship with my family by practicing these habits. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think that covers really mind and body, talking about we're talking about, the stress that we go under, our parents, the way we're uprooted. and body, obviously, changing our diet, changing our habits. What's your view on spirit? You know, because we talk mind, body, spirit. What is your relationship as far as religion? You know, and I spoke with Redmond yesterday. We talked about the difference between what one person means as religion, another means as dogma, right? So, what is your view on spirituality, religion? No interest. What's your view on that?
So I was raised Catholic, and I would say I'm no longer a practicing Catholic. No longer consider myself any religious entity. But I would say I'm a very spiritual person. I very much believe that nutrition comes from the sun, nutrition comes from the earth, and um, that is all connected. Um, in that sense of high spirituality leads to great mental awareness, which brings you to good physical health. So um, that's how I connect it. My wife is pretty much in line with me. We don't follow any certain religion. I do think there's great benefits with all religions. I also think there's a lot of hate and destruction with a lot of religions. And if you go back in history, you'll see that a lot of authoritative methods were practiced in religion, and you'll see today a lot of authoritative methods are practiced with government by
Yeah.
learning the practices from religion back in older centuries. But that's not to say what um, some principles of certain religions or whatever are good. Like very much if we're talking about uh, Catholic or Christians, like from what I know about Jesus rocks, man.
Correct.
you
Yeah.
know, what he preached, and to just be a good person, be a good individual. That to me is the golden rule, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's where we
Yeah, I
stand
think
with
the
that.
problem is ignorance. I think, like anything, it's any institution has the capacity to be corrupted. You have, for
Yeah,
example, the church. I can go to church and somebody else can go to church and we could be two completely different people. And then
absolutely.
same thing with school, right? Somebody can go and get their doctorate degree and they're miserable. And somebody else can drop out of school and they can create a successful business and be, so I think the problem is how we come to see it. I think it's to be, yeah, we're on the same page with Christ, to be more Christ-like and less I'm Christian, let me push it in your face. So, which I think is anti-Christian, you know? So, all right, I wanted to read, there's a couple questions you asked on Twitter. So I wanted to ask you the same questions you asked other people. What's one hill you will defend until your death?
Hmm. Um, that's a good one. I guess for me, being self-aware, man, being self-aware will lead you to greater pastures in life, because like that was the huge lesson that I learned. I settled on mediocrity, and I saw the damage that caused, not only with myself but my relationships, my marriage. um, and so being self-aware and being intentional individual will save you.
I have to compliment you on, there's been multiple times you've said it, and I've also seen it on your Twitter. And I'm a big fan of real compliments, not just saying something just to boost somebody's ego. But I spoke about it with Redmond yesterday, and I think it's worth bringing up again, is that because I see it in my own life, right? The ability to wear your own shit on your sleeve is a power that once you get to the place where, for in my own experience, where because I think there's a phase where it's like victimhood, you know,
Oh yeah.
um, it's like this is my pain, and then there's like, it's like it's a soap opera special, and not to say that I don't think I've ever was there, but you can see it, you can just see it how people will use their pain just to get attention. But there's this phase where it's just, this is my story. I was stuck in a place where I was, I was weak. I was whatever it is. For me, it was like calling myself, I was a loser. But when I said it, it wasn't like poor me. It was like, no, I want to be a winner. What does a winner entail? A winner wants to make other winners. A winner is someone who takes accountability. A winner says, hey, you know what? I did all this crap, but I needed to feel like lethargic and crappy or whatever it is to get to the next level. I had to hit bottom to say, you know what, let's go up. So, I think that's really good that you have the capacity where when I hear you, it's just like, no, this is just where I was at. I wasn't taking accountability, whatever it is. And it's just like, there's so much power in that. There's so much power in owning that. And, for me, that was a phase that once I broke through, I saw it. Now I see it in other people. So I see it in you. And, I really do appreciate that. And I think that's one of the things that will make a good father for your children is because when they say, wow, dad's kind of real too. Dad make mistakes too. Cool. I can make mistakes and I won't have to feel guilt and shame and I can make it mistakes and learn from them and then not be stuck in those patterns of shame and guilt.
100%. That is a huge point, is assuring your kids that we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Um, and I think what too many people forget to do after they are aware of this self-destruction, after that, okay, I got to make the change, is they forget to forgive themselves, and they keep that shame, they keep that guilt. But having self-remorse is one thing, but having self-forgiveness is empowering.
Yeah.
And recognizing that the choices that you made to get to where you're at, or being aware of this change that you need to be, happened for you. It was meant to happen, or else you wouldn't be in the mindset that you're in now of being more intentional, being aware. So um, absolutely great point, but being self-forgiving is very empowering.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, the forgiveness came through the understanding that it was, I see two worlds. I see the nurture and the nature. The forgiveness for
Mm-hmm.
me came through the understanding that it's not my fault, that I was born into a crazy world. The religious aspect is we're born into a world of sin. How I decipher that is that we're born into a world is we all got different operating systems and we're all just trying to figure it out. Some people are running Windows 10, other people are still on Windows 97, right? 95. And that does 95 isn't bad. It just they didn't see, they weren't upgraded to the highest version of themselves. And it's very rare that you're around those people. But the other side is take accountability, right? Life is going to punch you in the face. And it's not to wish life was easier, just wish for the ability to deal with the problems. And that's, what I've learned in the group with gentlemen like yourself, where it's just like, it's those two worlds. And that's what I was, to me, that's a real friend. It's someone who looks at you and says, I'm here for you. I'm here for you when you're down or whatever. Same thing, a good father, good friend, a good husband. It's the same qualities are built into that. That I'm here for you when you're down, but what are you doing to make your life better? Those two together, they're so powerful. But if you're just one, we're just like, oh, it's okay, it's okay.
Right.
You're not pushing people to level up. But if you're just, you gotta go, you gotta get up, then that's not it either. So that balance.
Absolutely.
So another question here that you asked, what's the best thing you've ever done for your family? What was that for you?
Definitely practicing peaceful parenting, um, and no longer allowing myself to um, force my children to do anything. No longer forcing, um, you know, poor behaviors, um, for the sake of my needs being fulfilled, and always being intentional of, I'm here to serve my kid. They're not here to serve me.
Yeah, powerful. Um, this is a little different, but I feel like it's cool because to me, I look at it deeper. There's more power in it. You say more power naps, fewer energy drinks. And when I heard that, again, I have this map of consciousness from David Hawkins. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but on the bottom, it's basically four. So on the bottom, I'll just go through. Have you ever heard of it? Or
Nope.
I'll send it to you. On the bottom is shame, and then it just moves up. Each level is there's more power, right? So on the bottom is shame, then it goes guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, and then above courage, courage is the catalyst to power, which is love. Then it goes neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment. The reason I'm bringing that up is because when I read more power naps, because this is how my mind thinks, I just go deep into stuff, fewer energy drinks. I can relate to that where I would just take all these supplements. I go to the gym, I'm forcing myself to work out. Where if I took a 15-minute nap, there's actually so much more power in that. I don't have to take anything. There's so much more power in just like, you don't have to do all these things. And I think that's really a deeper comment than just the energy drinks. It's like sometimes you need to relax, sometimes you need to push. So
100%. Plus, when we're talking about physiological standpoint, building muscle, a lot of people, they'll train every day, they'll train 6 times a week and forget that you don't build muscle in the gym, you break muscle in the gym. You build muscle in recovery. So
mm,
if you break muscle in the gym, that's good, but you're not going to build muscle unless you're getting deep, solid sleep, at least unless you're eating a well nourished diet, stay dehydrated, get that sun. Um, and it's forgotten, right? And like you said, too many people just think, oh, I just need more energy, need more supplements, need more power,
yeah,
I need to take the C4. And that they're fine, and they're tools to use, but they're not the only tool to use, they're not the only thing to go to. Whereas, yeah, naps, but more so just prioritizing recovery, prioritizing rest. That's where the magic happens.
yeah, agreed. So I have another one here. I got two more for you. So
Okay.
the one right here, I mean, I'm sure we're in alignment with big pharma and all that, all and I think it's not even, it's not even the people, it's the system itself, right? It's people are, we've just created these paradigms that, there's no other way. It's just box like thinking. So I like this tweet. The big pharma system wants you to line their pockets, but you weren't born for that. It's not your destiny. If you get sun, nature, quality sleep, eat quality food, daily movement, you'll never be their customer. It's like so simple to the mind. It's like, no, I have to do all that. No, it's really that simple. So I did appreciate that. And then this one here, your marriage license doesn't grant you permission to grow mad boobs. I had to say that one because it's like, yeah, often you'll hear, which I think it ties into what we were talking like systems and structure before. Well, I'm married. I have this. It's like, no, just balance your, to me, it's balance your time, right? Like what, and I see, how has that played a role in your life as far as like working out and being the strongest version physically? How do you balance that with time? And how do you see working out as something? Do you see it as, is it, oh, that's a luxury? Or how do you come to see physical fitness in a marriage?
Yep. So again, it goes back to the self love thing, right? I want to reveal the best self to my wife. I want to reveal the best self to my family. And in order to do that, I have to love myself first. So I want to reveal a healthy body. In order to do that, I got to make time to go to the gym. Um, Prior to us having kids, I was definitely in the 5 a.m. workout camp. Loved my morning workouts, but now my son, he wakes up early. He needs attention. We have our morning routine, so that doesn't work. So for me, I work at home, which is good. While he naps, that's my time to train. And that's just something that I've done for the last 2 years. It's just understood with my wife. That's my time to put the work in, do the reps, so that I have a better mindset. I have a stronger body. I'm a better individual for the family.
Agreed. And last question for you. For the one of the I've shifted my channel because when I first made it, it was just kind of just I made it life talk, just speaking with anybody, you just having deep conversations with everybody. But over time, I've shifted it to most work mostly with men because for me, I want it to be a reflection of the problem that I see in the world is that we have a lot of weak men, and I saw it within myself first, and now as I've grown in my own BS and dug that out, I want to help other men do it as well. So I asked this question because it's to me, what can men do? What is the most important thing for men to do? Men who are suffering, men who maybe come across this podcast and they're saying, you know what, I'm so deep in debt, or I'm so deep in my addiction. I haven't gone to the gym. I'm so overweight. Where is the best place that you can start where it doesn't, because I think about me in my low place, to hear someone who's like, you can do it, it's not enough to me. Like what would be the first thing we would say to somebody who's just so deep in whatever darkness that they're at to help pull them out? that they
It
can
really
do?
it really depends on the individual and what their needs are. But I would say for the majority of people, a great place to start is to um, customize their online world. And what I mean by that is to disregard, mute, block, unfollow any negativity, any bad habits, anything that's toxic towards your poor behaviors, your addictions, or whatever, and to only follow um, inspirational accounts, connect with those accounts, reach out to those accounts, so that you're at least seeing a positive online world, and that's going to influence your physical local world. That's definitely been a game changer for me when I was using Twitter and online platforms as a place to blame, shame, and complain, instead of just learning, connecting with other men like yourself and Zach and Anthony and everyone else in the fraternity of excellence. Um, even just other coaches online. And if you can't find your community, or if you can't find that inspiration, you can create it. You can create the community, and invite people in, um, and just you could start there. That would, to me, would be a great place to start, and to not think that you need to make these changes overnight. Um, as long as you're better today than yesterday, eventually you're going to be better. This year is going to be a better year than last year. So it compounds. You adapt better behaviors, you adapt better habits. Um, Consistency always tells the story, and you're not going to be consistent if you never start.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's very well said. That's two things that I completely agree with you. The networking and the my father calls it the chip method, just chipping away. And you said it perfectly at the end, being better than who you are yesterday. This is, I'm saying this to other people too. It is absolutely true. Do not compete against other people.
Mm.
That was a block for me for a long time. It may come up every so often. I have it pretty much. It's gone. But that, to me, in a way, it's everyone who has this, who has more money, who has that. Everyone's on a different level, and in a world that constantly is comparing, be better than the version of yourself yesterday is so powerful. So, Cala, I appreciate you coming on, brother. Just one last time, if you could share, because I think what you're doing is great work, where people can find you again.
Sure, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Greater Forever. You can check out my website, greaterforever.net, or you could join the Facebook group, Building Strong, Confident Families, Greater Forever.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Thanks again for coming on.
Appreciate you, brother.